Okay, so you might have seen the configuration part and you might have done the lab. I hope that you have done the lab. You know EBGP configuration and you know IBGP configuration. Next, there are a lot of considerations in BGP, especially when you are working in a big environment. There are few things which is totally new here, which you don't have in any other protocol. For instance, this one called next hop behavior. Next hop behavior. See, next hop is very important for any packet forwarding. Have you seen any routes in the routing table without a next hop address? Is it possible for routing any packet without knowing the next hop? Not possible, right? So the next hop will be always advertised by any protocol, not only BGP. Then what is this new in BGP related to next hop? Straight to the point, if I want to say, the next hop advertised by the next hop advertised by EBGP address is carried into IBGP. Hope you got this point. I was very slow. I repeat again. The next hop address advertised by an EBGP neighbor will be carried into IBGP. Have to understand this very well. There are some problems you may face because of this behavior. Let's discuss on that first. You see, IBGP, you are forming neighbor in our, don't see this line, just pretend this line doesn't exist. This line doesn't exist. Now you're forming neighbor between R4 and R1 by saying 10.12.0.1 remote AS is 100. It's an IBGP. When you do that, see the next hop address. The next hop address is the address of router 5. Dot 5. See, router 4 knows this address, but router 1 has got no idea about this next hop. It has got no idea about this next hop. As a result, this information will be there in the BGP table, but it will not be there in the routing table. Because when I started this class, I was telling you, you need a next hop. Yes, I have a next hop. But if that next hop is unreachable, if the routing table do not know where this next hop is, then it cannot use this network in the routing table. So the routing table will not have root. See, this info is in BGP table. Because the algorithm of BGP is saying this next hop is unreachable. This root information given by BGP cannot be considered as the best route. Only a best route can be seen in the routing table. This information is valid, but it is not best. Why? Because the next hop address is unreachable. I just said that there is a abnormal behavior in BGP. What is that? eBGP's address. What address is this? 200.45. It is eBGP's address. It is carried to IBGP. That is how I started this class. You see, usually the other routing protocols, when they advertise, they will put their own address as the next hop. Router 4 will not carry router 5's address. When router 4 gives the update, when router 4 gives the update to router 1, router 4 will put its own address. Router 4 will put its own address usually. But BGP's behavior is different. That's why I said BGP, even though it advertises the next hop address, so the next hop address in BGP is like this only. eBGP's address will be carried into IBGP. See, between R4 and R1, what relationship you got? IBGP. 5.5.5.5 is coming from where? From an eBGP neighbor. So all the eBGP neighbor advertised network will be having eBGP's address in IBGP router. If router 1 don't know how to reach this next hop, then router 1 cannot use this route. That is why the route is not seen in the routing table. Now, how do you solve this problem? Very simple. You need to say next hop self. Neighbor, router 1, next hop self, meaning router 4 is saying, I'll put my own self address as the next hop because you are giving me this instruction neighbor 10.12.0.1 next hop self. Because you said this, fine. Instead of putting 245, 54, 5, instead of putting that address, I'll put my own. So the next hop address is now changed to 10.12.0.1. This 10.12.0.1 is reachable by R1 because it is within the organization. You have some protocol like OSPF to provide reachability. All right. So router 1, now it can have the route in the routing table to reach 5.5.5.5. If you have already built this topology, why don't you try now? Last time I gave you an assignment. EBGP, IBGP LAN. Now today this is the assignment. On R5, you need to advertise this network. How will you advertise? Say router BGP 200, not neighbor command. To advertise, you need to say network 5.5.5.5. You have to exactly match the mask that is there in the routing table for this network. So if it is not classful, use the keyword mask and say 255.255.255.255. Only then it will advertise. If you fail to put the mask, what will happen? If you fail to put the mask, if you simply say 5.0.0.0, this 5.0.0.0/8, it will check in the routing table. And because it is not seen in the routing table, it won't advertise. Did you understand how to advertise a network? Now go and check. Also do this lab next stop self, copy this command and come back tomorrow. We'll continue this tomorrow.